We got you updated. This is Radio Imanzi, news in English.
You are tuned to Radio Imanzi, broadcasting from Kigali. Here is the news in English, brought to you by me, Fiona Umuganwa, and Imanzi Prince. Now the headlines. The Chamber of Deputies have adopted a law approving the accession of Rwanda to the statutes of the International Center for Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology. The visually impaired professionals working as massage therapists are said to gain breast cancer screening skills thanks to a new agreement with a German investor. South Sudan and Uganda are holding their first ever joint business forum in Juba, seeking to boost trade and investment ties. Welcome back. Now news in detail. Rwanda and Austria have signed an agreement for each other's commercial airlines, also commonly known as bilateral air service agreements in aviation terms. The agreement was signed between the Minister of Infrastructure, Ernest Nsabimana, alongside Austria's ambassador to Kenya and accredited to Rwanda, Christian Fellner. The minister said the agreement, which is a climax of engagements between both countries spanning 1 decade, could potentially expand Rwanda's air transport network, especially in Europe. Officials noted that the agreement will provide rights for the operation of direct flights from any point in Rwanda via any points in Austria, plus the right to pick passengers, cargo and mail to any point beyond Austria, commonly known as Fifth Freedom Traffic Rights. Communication experts in the field of conservation have urged media practitioners to break down the messaging on conservation issues in a manner that helps their audience relate the subject matter to social and economic realities. This was observed during a media workshop held on the sideline of the ongoing African Protected Areas Congress, held under the theme Challenges and Opportunities of Conservation Journalism in Africa. Imanzi Prince has more on this report.
The African Protected Areas Congress has brought together more than 2,000 delegates from different African countries and beyond to discuss matters pertaining to protection and restoration of wildlife and protected areas on the continent. Among efforts of conservation, experts in this area highlighted that media has an important role to play in informing and engaging all concerned parties to effectively achieve desired results in biodiversity protection. The Director of Public Relations and Corporate Communication at African Wildlife Foundation identified that in conservation reporting that journalists often have a unitary mind about their audience. Most of the time, conservationists calling for the need of unpack the information for the wider audience. Johnson Kanamjire, a Rwandan journalist, said one of the challenges is that newsrooms are shrinking and editors would rather have an all-assignment reporter than one who is focused on conservation reporting. We shall not be doing justice to what we are supposed to do if we leave out conservation, which is of public interest, he added, saying that there was need for specialized reporting where journalists have a deep understanding of the subject. Ndi Ejenindi, a journalist from Cameroon, pointed out that generally issues faced by journalists include lack of training in environmental conservation and little or no tools and resources to facilitate adequate reporting on these topics. He also pointed out the short attention news editors as well as the audience give to conservation topics, whilst they are not considered sexy to the readership. Relisa Sausa, Director of Communications, Gorogonsa, based in Mozambique, reiterated that it has to be the use of simple wording to address issues down to reality so that people realize conservation is not a responsibility of a certain group in society. Didi Wamkoya, environmental lawyer and director of Counter Wildlife Trafficking Program, said that from a legal perspective, journalists have to be aware of the legal sensitivity that comes with conservation topics. This, she said, is in case some reporting may jeopardize investigations or put the wildlife at risk in areas where there might be poaching. She added that media practitioners have to be very wary of misinformation, as there are some cases where news stories influence the African of judges in certain.
Visually impaired professionals working as massage therapists are said to gain breast cancer screening skills thanks to a new agreement with a German investor. Cognos International, a private and independent education company in Germany that operates universities in Europe, including Lanex International University of Health, Exercise and Sport, signed an agreement with Seeing Hands Rwanda to train visually impaired persons in massage therapy and breast cancer screening. Seeing Hands Rwanda is an organization aimed to improve the social and economic well-being of people with visual impairments. The Minister of Health, Dr. Daniel Ngamije, who presided over the signing of the agreement, said having visually impaired persons who can screen for early signs of breast cancers is timely, considering that there is a need for enhancing campaigns in screening breast cancer in Rwanda and increasing employability among visually impaired people.
The International Center for Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology is dedicated to
The Chamber of Deputies have adopted a law approving the accession of Rwanda to the statutes of the International Center for Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology. Yvette Rudasingwa, the Chamber of Deputies have adopted a law of approving the accession of Rwanda to the statutes of the International Center for Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology. The International Center for Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology is dedicated to advanced research and training in molecular biology and biotechnology and advancing knowledge, applying the latest techniques in the fields of biomedicine, crop improvement, environmental protection, remediation, biopharmaceuticals, biopesticide, and biofuel production. The center comes as a very important development to the country, according to Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation Minister Vincent Biruta. While explaining the relevance of the bill, Minister Biruta said that Rwanda expects to benefit from its membership to the center through biotechnology used in the health sector, such as diagnosis and treatment of human diseases. Also, through agriculture biotechnology, the country could get expertise to use crops that withstand pests and diseases, as well as climate change effects such as drought, hence achieving food production sustainability. The International Center for Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology is a unique intergovernmental organization initially established as a special project of United Nations Industrial Development Organization.
Economic news is a regular feature on Radio Imanzi.
Now the Rwanda Stock Exchange Market Report. Today's trading session recorded a total turnover of 621,559,000 Rwandan francs worth of bonds traded in 2 deals on the fixed income market, while the equities market remained quiet. I&M Bank closed the counter at 43 Rwandan francs, Bredgwa at 160 Rwandan francs, M10 Rwanda at 177 Rwandan francs, Bank of Kigali at 265 Rwandan francs, Simerwa at 120 Rwandan francs, Equity Bank at 440 Rwandan francs, Kenya Commercial Bank at 370 Rwandan francs, National Media Group at 1,200 Rwandan francs, Uchumi Supermarket at 104 Rwandan francs, and the RH Buffalo closed the counter at 526 Rwandan francs as the market closed. Now the currency market review of today. The Kenyan shilling buying price was 8.5 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 8.7 Rwandan francs. Tanzanian shilling buying price was 0.43 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 0.44. Ugandan shilling buying price was 0.26 and the selling price was 0.27. Burundian franc buying price was 0.49 and the selling price was 0.5. The US dollar buying price was 1,016 and the selling price was 1,036. The British pound buying price was 1,222 and the selling price was 1,247. The euro buying price was 1,041 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 1,062 Rwandan francs.
Some items of international news on Radio Imanzi.
South Sudan and Uganda are holding their first ever joint business forum in Juba, seeking to boost trade and investment ties through industrialization and infrastructure development. The 3-day forum and exhibition has attracted over 200 business people from the public and private sectors. Uganda says the talks will help to identify ways to enhance investment opportunities and the already vibrant trade relations between both countries and consequently improve the livelihood of their people. The U.S.-Africa Leaders Summit is set to be held from December 13th to 15th, President Joe Biden announced in a statement today. According to the press release, the gathering will look to foster new economic engagement, reinforce the U.S.-Africa commitment to democracy and human rights, mitigate the impact of COVID-19 and future pandemics. The summit will also look to work collaboratively to strengthen regional and global health, promote food security, advance peace and security, respond to the climate crisis, and amplify diaspora ties. Authorities in Somaliland have suspended the operations of the British Broadcasting Corporation BBC, accusing the broadcaster of undermining the credibility of the Somaliland state. The information minister said that the BBC failed to recognize Somaliland as a democratic country that has stood on its feet for 30 years.
The World Bank has allowed the lifting of suspension of its financial operations in Mali, a measure taken in May 2021 after 2 coups in less than a year. According to a note disclosed by Mali's Ministry of Economy and Finance, the Vice President, Western and Central Africa for the World Bank sent a letter to the Minister of Economy and Finance announcing the lifting of the suspension of disbursements for projects and programs financed by the World Bank in Mali. The development will enable the release of payments of companies concerned, as well as the immediate resumption of the activities of the said projects and programs.
And with that, we come to the end of tonight's edition.